This is Journey of Epiphanies with your guides, Mikee and Cher. Welcome to your journey. The days and nights are filled with wondrous treasures waiting to be discovered. Only you know where these glittering nuggets of magic can be found. Today, our courageous explorer is Ivee, lover of patterns, cultivator of mycelia, astute observer, and most of all, Wildseed friend. The journey is long, the tests unpredictable, the thrills boundless, but in the end, only you will know the secret within. Listen carefully, and all shall be revealed. Welcome to the Journey of Epiphanies.
This is your space captain speaking. Just a reminder to pack some teeny tiny snacks and maybe a silly little hat, because we're about to take a trip to the tippy top tip where the wild seeds grow.
Do you feel like your family instilled in you the sense of adventure that you still kind of cultivate and have to this day?
I think in terms of literally taking me places, they've definitely, set the tone for that. But also, I think growing up, I always like being alone. And in being alone, I kind of tried to do like adventures by myself. Like, I was the type of person where I always got lost. My mom would always lose me because I'd always find something and be like, oh, what's that? And then I end up following it. Or in my house, I always tried to look for the best hiding places. Like, I don't know, every so often before I used to try and look like where else could I hide? Or what's another like new part of a house that I haven't explored yet that I could fit myself in, you know?
I definitely feel you also on like wanting to be alone. Like I enjoyed being by myself and creating my own worlds and going on my own adventures. And I feel like that's the same spirit that has led me to go off and travel on my own. I guess it's part of your essence in that way.
Yeah, same also actually me. I've always been kind of a lone wolf. Yeah, even growing up, I spent a lot of time on my own and also exploring and going on adventures, not just like outside, but also within, which is really great.
Last year was really incredible, and it was the first time I actually did a whole jam-packed long-term adventure by myself. Even if I did enjoy like being alone, like here in my house or whatever, like traveling, that was the first time I was legitimately by myself, because I feel like here it's like, yeah, I like being alone, but someone I can always call or whatever. And traveling alone was definitely really powerful for me. Just kind of like, okay, like now you're really alone. Like, what are you gonna do? And I did freak out a lot more than I thought I would.
What was that like? Like, what were the things that you were learning about yourself? And yeah, how did you deal with all the freakouts?
There were so many points in the beginning where, I was like, I had all these plans, like I wanted it to be great. Like I had this whole idea of like, yeah, I'm gonna like work remotely and like I'm gonna see all these places and meet all these people, and like everyone's saying like, oh my god, what you're doing is so cool. Like there are all these like expectations of like, oh, you must be having the time of your life. But I had so many low points where I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I would actually feel like my body was getting numb. And I'll never forget, I was in this museum in Japan and I was feeling awkward. And then I realized you don't know anybody here. No one's watching you. Like you're here to have fun. And yet you can't even have fun with yourself, or like you feel uncomfortable being with yourself. And yet you are the only one that is experiencing this whole thing. And like, if there's anything that's going to be constant in your life, it's going to be you. And if you can't sit with yourself or even be with yourself, what's the point?
That must have been a really big moment for you.
Yeah, it's just gonna be you. I mean, obviously you're gonna have all this great support and whatever, but you are the only thing that's gonna be constant in your life. And if you can't even be around yourself, what's it all for, And so that really changed everything for me, because then I was like, I had just so much like all of these different narratives for myself. And that was the first time I think I really spoke to myself in a while. And that was the beginning of really sitting with all my feelings. And I think after that day, I really let go. And once I let go, I feel like my energy just completely changed. I mean, it wasn't instant, but I feel like the seed, haha, the wild seed has been planted, and things just really went up from there. I wanted to have so much control over what I wanted the experience to be.
But you didn't just let it flow.
I'm not the kind of planner that has like a fixed itinerary, but I definitely had a vision. And I was like, Ives, you've never been to any of these places. And already you have like some sort of set expectation of why are you acting like you know where you're going? Like go, like just go. Just see what's around you and then go from there. And the minute I let go of like wanting to control or wanting to, fulfill like certain expectations, that's when I had like the most transcendental experiences. I always told myself, okay, I have certain places I want to see for sure, but I want some parts of my trip. I'm just gonna drop a pin, go take the train. I'm not gonna care about like what stop I get off of, I'm just gonna drop myself here, walk around, and like see where that takes me. And man, I met so many cool people and did so many cool things. Oh my gosh, this is a good story. So, this one time I was panicking about where to go for lunch because I had to finish a few meetings, and I was talking to my sister in law, and she was like, Ivee, just literally from your list, close your eyes, randomly twiddle your fingers, and then whatever you point at, just go to that. And I said, okay. So I went there and I said, I'm not going to look at my phone for the next hour. I'm just going to order my food and sit and observe and really, when you do like meditation where you're really immersing yourself into like whatever the experience is. So like
Yeah.
whether it's drinking tea or like eating your food. So I was like, really savor it. I'm not gonna rush. And it was such a great experience. I was observing this family that was in front of me. They had like a kids table and then a parents table. And the kids were like, they had like this football that they were like kicking around like under the table. And like the parents would come in and check on them. And every time they'd come in and check on them, they'd like get really quiet, pretend like they weren't doing anything. And I was just like, oh, what a nice moment. Like, I miss my family because I think at that point it was 5 months in. And, anyways, that was in Barcelona, Spain. And fast forward to like a month later, and I'm in Portugal in Sintra, which is a historical landmark slash like national park, in this restaurant. And I'm eating, and I see like this woman's face. And I was like, that woman looks so familiar to me. Why did my brain kind of like signal, like, this person? I see her kids, and those kids had the football,
No way.
and I was like, oh my god. Oh my god. What? I was like, what do I do with this now? Like, oh my god, that's them from the restaurant. I was like, you know what? Out of all the infinitesimal possibilities, how is it that we are both here in a different country today? I need to seize the opportunity. And I even like Google translated pa like on my phone, like in Spanish. And I go up to the mom and I was like, excuse me. And we were having like language barrier. And she was like, oh, it's okay, I speak English. And I was just like, were you in Barcelona at this restaurant a month ago? And then she stands up and she was like, see, I was there, I was there. And I was like, oh my God, like I was there. I was there. And I was just like, I don't mean to be weird, but like, I distinctly remember you guys eating with your family, and I was also there in Barcelona, whatever. And she was like, increíble! Like, oh my God, that's so cool! Like, I can't believe you even remembered us. I was like, are we like on the same wavelength right now? She was like, no, this is amazing. Thanks for coming to say hi to me. And I was like, well, anyway, yeah, I just wanted to say hi. Like, enjoy your stay here. They were there for a long weekend, and I was walking away, and like, I was literally like outside now, like maybe 3 minutes away from the restaurant, and Tita like fucking ran after me. She was like, you have such a nice spirit. And to me, like in the last few years, I don't think I had cultivated a good energy, I think, for a while. And to me that was just so like heartwarming.
I feel like that family was a sign from the universe, just like a reflection of what you've been going through. And it was like a synchronistic yeah, sign telling you that this is how you are. And
The universe also telling you, like, you were so in the moment, you were so present at that moment, and now I'm showing you again that just letting go, being free, being completely present has magic.
I even wrote in my journal that night, and I was just like, I'm getting to know her, like me, and she's amazing. Like,
Oh, Ivy, thank you for sharing this with us.
ah, guys. Yeah, so I feel like, after those moments, I was like, oh, I'm feeling it. I'm really feeling it now. And I'm just gonna keep feeding off of it and like growing it and like sharing it with people, because it's obviously really great to share it with loved ones, but to share it with like complete strangers who you don't even know, and then you end up creating something together that's even stronger because of the fact that you don't know them.
Yeah.
Okay, this one was planned this time, where I bought tickets to Solange. I bought it even before like I mapped out where I was gonna travel to, and I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna make my way there in Hamburg. This is my night. I'm just gonna let things be. And I remember I was running late because I had a meeting and it was going overtime, and I was getting a little nervous that they would close the doors on me. So I dressed up really quickly. I even bought an outfit for it because Solange posted the night before, like, to all the people going to Elf Harmony tonight, like, wear all black. And so I got an all black ensemble and I was rushing out the door, and I was trying to get an Uber, but it was like a 20-minute wait time. And I think there was only like 45 minutes left till the show started. And I was like, oh my God. And there were these three girls dressed in black, and they were just speaking in French. And then someone like muttered Solange. And I turned around and I was like, are y'all Solange? And they were like, yes, we're trying to get an Uber. And I was like, let's go across the street to the train station and get a cab together. And they looked at each other and they were like, okay, yeah, let's go, let's go. We go cab together, and obviously we were like talking about the show, like, oh my God, y'all love Solange. And we were playing the music in the car now, and we were just like, yeah, like getting lit. And they were like, oh, like, what are your plans after? And I was like, I don't know, like, I was just gonna go home. I'll give you my number. And I said, yeah, okay, cool, cool, cool. Because we were all sitting in different parts of the theaters. And the show was incredible. And in her last song, my two friends managed to get their way past the bodyguard. So I met up with them after. We were staying there, like inside the theater, for a really long time, and they had been talking to people who were working with the teams. And one of them was like, oh, so like, where are you coming from? And I was like, well, I'm coming from the Philippines. And she was like, oh, it's a really long way. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm backpacking. Whatever, I told my story. And I was like, how about you? Is this your first time seeing Solange? And she was like, oh, I'm Solange's European tour manager.
whoa.
I'm sorry, what? And then I'm talking to the girl next to me, and I was like, what about you? And she was just like, oh, I'm her US tour manager. And I was like, and then they were like, so where are we getting drinks tonight? I'm looking at my friends and I'm just like, who are you guys? Yeah, like I'm an events manager in Berlin. And the other girl was like, oh yeah, I run like black artists like festivals in Berlin and all of that. And they're like, Ivy, are you coming with us for drinks? And I was like, yeah, yeah. The effing hell did I get here?
No, you know why? You set an intention from the start and you already made it known to the universe and you just made everything happen.
I was like, oh my God, this is what it means to like really align with yourself, and to like manifest, but manifest with good energy.
Yeah.
I think the magic sauce to that also was that you had already aligned to yourself and then you just surrendered in these moments. Both moments. You're just like, you know what? I'm just gonna let it go with the flow. I'm gonna, not think
Yeah.
about it. And that's how it like came to you.
And I think really like the good fertilizer for all of this throughout my trip was consistently going to yoga. I went to yoga in every place that I went to because I knew that's how I could like recenter myself. And it was really interesting because in the beginning I was like, I want English only, but that wasn't going to happen in a lot of places. But actually doing yoga in a foreign language, I found it in that moment more powerful. than it being in English. Because at that point, you're like, I don't understand what this person is saying, but just feel the energy of the room and feel the energy of other people and really surrender to the experience. And this one yoga teacher in Spain said to me, because I was having a hard time, she was really pushing me because I was new. But during Shavasana, she whispers in my ear, when you're feeling challenged, that only means that you need to listen more and surrender.
When you're feeling challenged, that only means you need to listen more and surrender.
Like your inner voice speaking to you from the outside.
To me, I was like, this is literally the one piece of wisdom that I need to keep reminding myself. And it always came back to me like challenge after challenge, my ego wanting to revert back to like the old way of thinking. But every time I had an experience like this, I'm always reminded of the same thing, which is like, stop, listen to yourself, and then accept it and just surrender to it. And just be open. Be open.
This is your wild seed reminder to take that conscious pause. Some of our favorite ways to take in this gifting moment are to take deep belly breaths and to remember to thank ourselves for nourishing our consciousness with all this nowness. Thank you, wild seed.
And I really think that by the time I had gone to that Solange concert, which was like the end of my trip, I had really just said, whatever this experience is, I'm here and I'm just like, I have everything I need and let's just have a good time, like, let's just do it.
And you know what the beautiful thing about that yoga experience was? If you look at the origins of the word yoga, it means to yoke or to unite. So I think in that way, it was also telling you that you're uniting with yourself.
I really felt like that was me. And I mean, like I remember like one of the things that I wrote down on my way back. I was on the plane ride back here, and I was like, okay, this was freaking amazing. Never gonna forget. What now? You're gonna go home. You're gonna be in surroundings that you're familiar with, and it won't be that obvious anymore to you, right?
Yeah.
Even if you are in a place that feels familiar, there's always something new to see. There's always something new to find. And if you listen and like pay attention more and really just be more observant, you might find something new to see. There's always adventure if you change your lens. You don't have to go somewhere to adventure, just the lens that you have to change, the perspective.
Magic. Yeah, finding the wonder and the joy in the everyday moments.
No, and I think this is just like a time of learning that all of that can always happen in any shape or form. It's just a matter of perspective and a matter of you being able to tune into it, right?
Yeah, but also I think it's about integration and really taking the experiences, the learnings that you've had, and really bringing everything together and finding the way to live it in our everyday lives.
Yeah.
But I think like when you're so used to all that stimulation, especially coming from a big trip like that, it's so hard to transition back into a life where the signs are way smaller and you have to use a magnifying glass to find them sometimes. But it's there.
It's there.
I was gonna ask, how do you think the things that you experience and the lessons that you learned during your trip like helped you navigate this time now?
I always thought to myself, I've always loved going on adventures. I've always loved traveling. Why not make it really fun? Like, I can work from anywhere. And at this point, I can go anywhere. And it's really like, are you going to be in this mindset where it's like life happens to me? Or are you going to have this mindset of more like I happen to life?
Yes.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of the situation here where I'm like, okay, here you are again, now with stricter rules. Are you going to let the rules kind of like dictate your mood and your perspective? Or are you going to do something about it? I wasn't sure with all the uncertainty of like what was going to happen with whatever, like, am I going to keep my job or, all of these things? Am I going to get to travel again? And you're just like, oh my God, I feel like all of the things that I sort of tied to my personality, I can no longer engage in. And I'm like, who am I even? And I remember doing this yoga flow, and the instructor at one point was like, you are not your job, you are not your relationships, you are not the things you buy, you are just
Yes.
abundance. You are it already.
Yes.
That's what it is. And that's it, I realized, like, yeah, like, I'm here and this is it. Like, this is me, I mean, it's nice to have all of those things, right? But when it's stripped away from you, you can't think to yourself that you're nothing without those things, right? And I feel like that really made me more at peace with the situation.
I think we're built in a way that we try to understand ourselves with what is external. We identify ourselves with our jobs, with, this certain narrative.
Yeah.
And when you get to that point, if you ever do, where all these things are taken away from you, that's when you really feel, I think, the most lost, because you realize that you lost yourself in a way that you identified yourself to everything that wasn't you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Yes, Mikey.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
coming home.
After having, I mean, always going through this experience of like, how are you going to do this? Are you going to do it the way other people do it and just kind of like copy paste? Or are you going to listen to what feels natural to you? Just being again, just goes back to the same thing again.
It's the biggest journey we're on, and a lot of times it's really challenging, but that's where the growth really happens and where
Yes.
those big bangs really explode, and you're like, aha, I found myself again. Here I am.
The universe just keeps speaking to us, but it's also ourselves speaking to us. If we just stay aware, stay open,
When you go inward,
it expands the whole world.
yeah, and it makes you want to go outward, right?
Exactly. It's going to like the deepest source, the deepest core of you. And then it's like, you know what? Maybe that's what the Big Bang was, It's like a being, like the purest quantum substance. And then it just like, boom.
And this big bang happens with us all the time, I feel like.
All the time. There's no end to it. It's infinite and eternal.
And people just create, and it's just a buildup of everyone's individual Big Bang moment, and we're all living in each other's like output.
I mean, imagine thinking that we are the same as the Big Bang, meaning every time we explode, we create this universe, all these worlds, experiences. Wow, that's so powerful.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I just now feel like the mind blown emoji. I'm having the best time. Thank you both so much for sharing this with me.
I'm so inspired.
No, you guys inspire me too. Like when I listen to podcasts, I'm like, literally, these girls are speaking my language right now.
And we're also so honored to just hold this space for you also to share all these experiences and all your magical everything that you've gone through. It's just a good reminder of why we're here and where we're going.
It's really a journey, y'all, and like it never ends until
It's the time for the next journey.
And every time we're always better equipped. And we never have to go through it alone. We're always doing it together. Like how Ramdas says, we're all just walking each other home. I love you girls so much.
I love you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in. It feels like one big fat hug from all of you whenever you do. Remember, we have fresh new episodes coming out the oven every Tuesday on Spotify, Anchor, YouTube, Overcast, Apple, and wherever else you listen to your podcasts.
Thank you so much. We're really so happy to be on this Wildseed ride with all of you. Pass on the love to the other wild seeds in your life. You can find us on Instagram at We Are Wildseed. We're also on Facebook. You can also drop us an email. We super love receiving letters. Our email address is wildseedpod@gmail.com. Can't wait to see you guys again soon. Wildseed!
Wildseed!